Good morning, guys. Our new project for this weekend is we had two big oak trees taken down. One of them had a bad spot in the top where it was the tree was topped like years ago, and it had growth come out of that cut spot, and it was rotted and kind of hanging over the house. And the other one up there on the hill, it got kind of pushed over when Hurricane Helene came through last year, and I decided to have both of these removed. I hate having nice oak trees cut down in the yard, but the one up there, I didn't want it to get hung up in another tree and turn into some giant expensive crane removal. And this guy over here was leaning over the house and over my concrete pad where I'm planning to build a carport for a future project. But let's get started cleaning all this up. I just had them drop the trees. I didn't remove any brush or wood, so we're gonna take care of that. You know, we can use the wood and burn in our fireplace, and it also saves a lot of money by not having to pay someone else to haul it off. While we're letting the saw warm up, I'll kind of show you what we got to work with as far as how much brush, which honestly for this size oak tree is not terrible. I'm going to try to keep any of the bigger size stuff and burn it up, and we'll dispose of all the twiggy, brushy stuff. We've also got a little bit of a scavenger hunt to do while we're out here cleaning up. The climber that came and cut these down had like one of those nice modern climbing helmets with the built-in ear pro and face shield and all that, and he had one of those Bluetooth receivers on the back for his communications thing, and he said it fell off somewhere out here, so we're gonna see if we can't find it for him. We're about an hour and a half into cutting and dragging little limbs, so making pretty decent progress. It's just extremely wet out here. It poured down rain last night. It's been raining almost every afternoon, and it's just super humid, and everything is soaked. Thankfully it's not really hot. It's kind of overcast today. Alright, we're about 3 hours roughly into the cleanup. Pretty much got all the brush hauled out of here. I've kind of stacked up some of these pieces. They're not massive or anything, but in my opinion they're big enough to chop up and stick off in the sort of scrap wood pile and cover them up, and I can burn them later. So we got this whole tree that we're gonna have to cut and split. So it's like, you know, about lunchtime now. Go in and get a bite to eat. Come out here and see what we can do. I'm sure it's gonna rain this afternoon, so we'll get as much done as we can. See if we can get some usable lengths out of these. See what this Spruce Mall can do. I used it last year on a bunch of oak that we got from that hurricane that came through. This thing's a beast. nuts and forks in the tree. It just powers through. Huge knot. These difficult pieces like this from the top of the tree or where there's a fork, I like to just chip away at the outside first. sort of peel it back and see what you got to work with in there. This is cool weather today, even though it's humid. Definitely not something you want hanging out over your house. A bunch of weight up there. It's full of ants. Telling you guys, this Fisker's splitting maul. It's kind of expensive. I think they're like 70 bucks. I got mine at Tractor Supply. But it blows everything else out of the water, at least that I've tried. Like the old wood handle with like a, whatever it is, 6-pound head or something. At least on oak anyway. This thing just annihilates it. Hard piece without a branch going out of there. Some of these I just don't even waste much effort on. Just get what you can off of it. Throw the rest in the scrap pile. Alright, let's get some more trees put up. 71 cuts pretty good. I certainly wouldn't consider myself like an expert woodcutter by any means, but one mistake I've seen a lot of people make, including myself, is wanting to stack a piece of firewood on top of the other one and then hit it. But if you do that, at least for someone like me that's short, you're taking away all your swinging power, because down here you have all that range from when you pick it up all the way down. But if you go stacking it 32 inches high, you're losing all your momentum all the way up here instead of when the axe gets down to the ground. Looks like we're in a little bit straighter grain now. Get away from those forks and knots at the top. Makes it way harder. Yeah, that's great. Spoke too soon. Alright guys, I'm going to call that a wrap for day one. I think we did pretty good. I'm absolutely soaking wet. We put in, I don't know, about 6 hours on this thing. I think we made pretty good progress. I've been out here by myself. I'm about wiped out for the day. Try to not go too hard on my days off. Yeah, we'll maybe work on it some more tomorrow. Alright guys, we're on day 2 of this tree cleanup. Getting a little bit of a late start. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm a little bit sore from the work we put in yesterday. So I think I'm going to start off with getting some of the wood that we split yesterday and moving it over here to where I store the firewood. I'll have to get some concrete blocks or 2x4s or something to put under there like I've done with these other ones and get it all stacked up and tarped. Eventually I would like to build a woodshed somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, if it would be over here or in a different location, but for right now we'll just stack it up back here, and then if I feel like doing any more, then I can split some more. I went ahead and put some oil on this wheelbarrow. Hopefully it doesn't squeak bad when I get a load on it. This thing can be kind of noisy sometimes. That ought to be enough. Doing stuff like this yourself is definitely a great way to save money, but it is a lot of work. So I try to view it as kind of sort of me getting paid to do a job, because you know, I'm not having to pay someone else to do it, so it's almost like making the money back. Let's see, where are we gonna put this? Back up a little bit. Just dump it right here for now until. So that's all my seasoned wood from last year. Where am I gonna stack this? Maybe right there in front of that. Although I don't want to have to climb around it to get that wood out. I don't know. Just haul it over here and figure that part out later. Start with the furthest away stuff first. That was one thing. I worked for a landscaper for a time. That was one thing he taught me, was always do the hardest part first. And then it only gets easier from there. Got all that hauled out. Guess we'll split up some more. Turns out I definitely needed to get out a new file. Going through and sharpening now that I've been cutting into big wood instead of just the brush. Got a new file out of a 3-pack that I had in my little saw bag, and it makes a huge difference. That other one was completely worn out. I'll go hit the rakers after I get done with this side. Let's see. I need a new flat file too. I don't know how. This one's probably pretty old. Doesn't really even. This thing doesn't really feel like it's cutting. Let's see. I think I got some other files in here we can try. See what this one feels like. I'd say that's gonna make a difference. Alright, I'm calling it there for this weekend. This old oak tree gave me about all I wanted, but we made pretty good progress. My brother showed up and helped me out a little bit here this afternoon. We got a pretty good stack of wood going over here that we need to get organized by. Kind of wanted to just finish processing that tree up. Well, we'll have to carry on with this maybe next weekend, depending on what the weather looks like. But how about had all I wanted? I don't want to show up to work on Monday with a blown out back. So we still have this other one up here. It's not quite as big as that the one we've been dealing with, but I think this one may have a little bit more brush on it. And we've also got poison ivy to contend with. It was growing up that tree. I cut it off several weeks before they came and cut this down, hoping it would dry out a little bit. But so far I have not found that guy's Bluetooth thing, so maybe it's up here by this tree. I guess it'll just have to stay out here for a little longer if it is still here. Alright, that's it for this weekend. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll have to continue this another time. But I appreciate it, and I'll see y'all next time.